All right, today we're diving into a really fascinating problem in the startup world, a problem that costs a lot of great ideas a chance to succeed. We're talking about how amazing companies get lost trying to find funding, and we're going to explore a new model from a firm called Vector Capital that says it has the answer, an architecture of trust.
Yeah, this quote just gets right to the heart of it. When the investors are looking at a company, they usually see the perfect, rehearsed pitch deck and the shiny projections. They see the final polish. What they don't see is the struggle, the hard decisions, the actual grit that got the founders to that point.
So let's flip that on its head for a second. What if an investor could see everything? I mean everything, right from day one. The messy parts, the smart pivots, the real story behind the PowerPoint. That's the big idea we're unpacking today.
To really get the solution, first we have to understand where the value is being created in the first place. And it starts inside something you could call the value factory.
Okay, so for over a decade now, there's been this organization called the Founder Institute, and it's one of these value factories. But it's not just some cozy incubator. The word they use is a forge. It literally takes the raw, messy ambition of entrepreneurs and hammers it into shape, creating real, solid companies. It's known for producing super resilient founders and, because of that, a whole lot of value.
But here's the problem. For all its success in building these tough, viable companies, the system has a massive, glaring inefficiency. Think of it like a leaky funnel.
And wow, this analogy is just brilliant, if a little brutal. It nails the problem. The Founder Institute builds these incredible startup engines, gets them all revved up, and then basically pushes them out the door into the cold, unforgiving world of fundraising. It's like spending all your time raising valuable frogs, only to watch them get eaten by snakes. The value is created inside, but it's captured somewhere else entirely.
So here's what that journey looks like for a founder. First, they prove their idea works in the core program. Then, they get ready for investment in the funding lab. And then, they hit a wall. This gap. This valley of death where all their momentum just dies on the vine while they search for outside funding.
So this isn't just a minor issue. The result is what you'd call a systemic sub-optimization. That's just a fancy way of saying the whole system is broken. You've got these amazing, powerful parts, but because of the gap between them, the whole thing is way less effective than it should be.
And this is where the big idea really comes into focus. To fix that leaky funnel, to actually capture the value that's being created, a brand new thing was designed. Vector Capital.
You know, the name itself is a huge clue. If you remember high school physics, a vector has two things, magnitude and direction. The magnitude, that's the huge stream of high-quality companies pouring out of the Founder Institute. The direction? Well, that's the new laser-focused strategy to invest directly in them.
And that brings us to the core of this whole model. Vector Capital is what's known as a captive fund. All that means is that it has one job and one job only: to be the main investor for the best companies coming from that one single place, the Founder Institute.
So the mission becomes crystal clear. Vector Capital is built to be the cornerstone, the first and most important investor for the absolute best companies graduating from the program. It is purpose-built to plug that leak.
Now, when you put all this together, it creates this incredibly powerful 360-degree advantage, and it just fundamentally changes how the whole investment game is played.
And right here, this is the real aha moment. A typical VC firm, they get a few snapshots of data. They see a polished pitch. They might spend a few weeks doing their homework. But Vector Capital, they have the entire movie. We're talking months and months of real performance data. They're not just reading a script. They've been in the room, watching these founders solve problems and perform under pressure from day one.
So what's the point of all that intimate day-one knowledge? It all boils down to one massive, game-changing result: enormous de-risking. By the time a company is actually ready for an investment, Vector Capital knows its DNA. They know its strengths, its weaknesses, its real potential in a way no outsider ever could. This makes the investment just way, way safer.
What you get is a brand new, beautifully integrated cycle. That leaky funnel is gone. So founders are forged in the program, their companies get structured for success, and then, this is the critical part, Vector Capital steps in to lead or anchor the investment round. It creates the seamless, powerful path to growth.
So what does this all really add up to? Well, it's a lot more than just a smarter way to invest. It's a fundamental shift in the paradigm and the whole way this industry works.
So what does this actually mean for the startups? Well, the wins are huge and immediate. With Vector Capital leading the investment, that sends a massive signal of confidence to the market. Other investors see that and want in, which makes it way easier to get co-investment. And the bottom line? Fundraising timelines get slashed,
so founders can stop spending all their time asking for money and get back to what they do best, building their business.
And this quote just wraps up the whole transformation perfectly. The system literally moves from just preparing companies to win and then kind of hoping for the best to an ecosystem that actively finances them to win. The real genius here isn't just in the pieces, but in how they're all connected.
All of this leaves us with a really big question for the entire startup world. In an age that's all about data, is this kind of integrated data-first, know-everything-from-day-one approach the actual future of venture capital? It's a really powerful idea to think about.